All right, everyone. I hope you are having an amazing Monday. So many people they live for the weekends, and I like to live for Mondays because who likes a Monday? Well, I had to teach myself to like it. So, if you do not have your camera on, I would love it if you did turn your camera on. I understand if you don't want to. It's Monday night at 8:30, 9:30 p.m., wherever you are. But if you could, that would be amazing because we're going to talk about closing today. And part of closing is also learning how to read people. And it's hard to read people when you can't see their face. And so I like to read people at all times, even if I'm doing a call like this,
Okay.
or if I am trying to get someone to do plexus. Megan, if you could also work on muting people, that would be incredible. And so one of the things I want us to do is we're going to go through a little journey of how to close and why it's important. I don't want to just come on here and tell you what I do and expect it to work for you because you're not me. I want to tell you the why behind what I do so that you can take the spirit of what I do and develop it into what's going to be the best fit for you. Does that make sense? So pay when you watch this or you read it or you listen to it again over the recording, I want you to pay less attention to the exact words, unless you love the words. I know I'm really good, and so you might want the words. That's a joke, y'all. So hopefully you all start laughing and enjoy your Monday. You may hear something that I say and say, you know what, I really like the way he articulated that. I'm going to steal that. Feel free to do that. Or you could say, I like the spirit of what he said. I want to tailor it to who I am. That's what I want to empower you here today to do, is to give you the reason, the rationale, so that you can then take it and make it yours and flourish with it. So the number one thing that I would say that allows you to close in this business is third party validation. It is the number one tool. And I'm going to tell you why, because A, it's no longer just you telling about the story. It's you allowing someone else to tell the same story from their perspective, which they could then relate. For a perfect example, there's probably a lot of you on this call that are not type 2 diabetics. So when you're speaking to someone about how plexus helps a type 2 diabetic, how are you going to relate to them? Well, if you borrow someone else's story, then you now have the credibility of that person. Hey, I don't know what you're going through, but my friend Phil, this is what he's gone through, and look at the success he's had. It allows you to do that. What also third party validation does for you is it's an easy way for you to follow up with someone. Let's say, for example, Dee Dee, you were talking to someone and you talk to them about the business a week, or you talk about a product a week ago, right? And it's been a week since they reached out to you, but you knew they suffered from migraines. Well, an easy way to start the conversation again is going and saying, hey, I saw this success story for migraines and I thought of you. Now all of a sudden that conversation starts flowing again because you got in the door, right? That's the part of our problem is, what do I say to the person? They haven't talked to me in a week, they're ghosting me. Well, y'all, fortune is in the follow-up. Are you willing to follow up with them? Are you willing to do the research and find a success story for whatever they're dealing with? And then send, hey, I just came across this. Now, you searched for it, but you also came across it. So it's not lying, right? I came across this and I really thought of you. Now you're allowing that person's experience to speak to them. Man, look at these thyroid numbers that this person was struggling with, and now they're doing amazing. I thought of you. And that doesn't have to be a one-time thing. That could be if you have someone who's just really stubborn. Let's just say once a month you come across another migraine or another thyroid story. The fortune is in the follow up, because here's what you have to understand. When I say no to something today, there is a reason why there's an entire industry that follows you throughout the internet when you look at someone on Amazon. When you look at a product on Amazon and then you go to any other website and it follows you all over the place, there's a reason why that happens, because they understand that the more times they can get that in front of you, the more chances you are to purchase it. So think of those third-party stories as a remarketing tool for their Amazon purchase of Plexus. Does that make sense? And if you do not know how to search for a testimony, please reach out to someone, because it is such a powerful tool. It allows you to have a simple reason to follow up with someone. And I think that's sometimes the most challenging reasons that we stop following up with people, is because we don't know what to say. Now, there's two different types of closing. There's closing on the products, and there's closing on a business builder. It is two entirely different sales. And I want to focus on both of them really quick. The products, to me, are the simplest close. And the reason why it's the simplest close is because, let's be honest, who doesn't want to feel great? When you have stories of people losing 100+ pounds, when you have stories of people who could never get their autoimmune issue resolved, and then all of a sudden now they are. When you have stories of people who were never able to get pregnant, but once they started the products, they got on. When you have these stories, they speak for themselves. And then you also have your own testimony. But getting someone to share the business is, I think, where the majority of us fall off. And here's why. We are trained to say no. First of all, who on this call grew up and said, you know what I want to be? I want to go to college and be a multi-level marketer. No one. I think the only people who might do that now are our kids, right? Because they see us and they're like, I want to do Plexus. So they're actually growing up in love with this industry. But there's a stigma in this industry. So people are going to tell you no, not because they don't want the opportunity. They're going to tell you no because they're afraid of the opportunity. And you have to understand the difference. Because when you're speaking to someone from fear, not your fear, their fear, if you don't overcome it, they're never going to move forward. I remember we were talking to someone on a call once, and I said, okay, you're going to give your person a shout out, right? And they literally on the call, this is why I love phone calls with our video calls, because they went like this on the call. They covered their face and they're like, oh, okay, I will. If I didn't address that fear right then and there on that call, they never would have done a shout out. Y'all, what I found, mainly with females, no offense to y'all, I apologize, is you all love the text. You all would wish you could do your whole business through text message. Y'all, I could get on a phone call for 5 to 10 minutes with someone and move the conversation so much further down the funnel because they can hear my passion. They can hear my voice inflections. They can hear my empathy and my sympathy for their situation.
You want to go to the bathroom? Huh?
I don't have to go, but we're going to keep going.
What do you want me to do?
Megan? Thank you. So where I'm trying to go with that is, don't be afraid to pick. I remember that here's a story. Megan was talking to a potential. And she's like, she hasn't responded in a while. What should I do? I said, just pick up the phone and call her. She's not going to answer. She spent a half hour arguing with me about how this person was never going to answer the phone. because they don't answer her messages. She picked up the phone and called the person, and the person picked up immediately. So much so it threw Megan off. Like she was caught off guard because she didn't spend the last half hour planning on what to say. She spent the last half hour arguing with me that the person wasn't going to pick up the phone. The conversation was just moved immensely down the funnel because of a 5-10 minute conversation. Y'all, I want to challenge you to pick up the phone and call people. And here's why. I know a lot of you, there's some people I don't know who you are, which I love. I love seeing new faces. But there's also a lot of you on here that I do know. And I know the passion you have for these products. I know the passion you have for this opportunity. And if you're not allowing people to hear that passion, if you're not allowing people to grab hold of your faith in these products and in this opportunity, you're doing yourself a massive disservice. Are you all following that? So if I gave you a challenge that I want you to pick up the phone and call people this week, are you all actually going to do that? Or is it going to be like, oh yeah, that sounds good, Phil, but I'm not going to do it because I like text message. I'm not going to do it because I don't know what to say to them once I get on the phone with them. I told this story, but so many new faces, I'm going to tell it again. I remember when Megan came home from convention, we had 4 people on our team. She came home from convention and said, I'm going to go Emerald in a year. And I said, okay, if you're going to do that, I need you to go out and I need you to introduce yourself to 2 people a day and get them on Facebook. So she had to go outside and meet 2 people and get them on Facebook. The first person that she met was at a park. It was with Parker. And she went to the lady and said, hi, how are you? And the lady said, good. How are you doing? Plexus? I do Plexus. It was the most awkward conversation I've ever heard in my life. I looked at her, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is wrong with you? Like, have you lost all ability to communicate to humans? We were at a mall where we did a vendor event, and all these people were walking by, and she's like, Phil, what do I say to them? And I just said, how about hello? Like, how about we just start there? Like, guys, you know what happens is you panic. Don't overthink it. Just get someone on the call and allow the conversation to flow and understand that you're going to screw up. But guess what? I will take that first conversation, that massive screw up. By the way, she still got the person on Facebook, and they're still Facebook friends today. She's never ordered Plexus. There's no shocker why. That was really awkward. But she will eventually. We truly believe that. But where I'm trying to go with that is that lesson, that failure prepared the woman that you see today getting on stages and teaching in front of all of convention. You don't go from one to the other without those failures and those lessons. So, and where I'm going with that is if you want to be where Megan is, if you want to be where Alita is, you're going to have to learn and fail. And part of that is going to be phone calls. And here's why. Nicole, if I texted you today and said, hey, how are you doing? You would probably answer, I'm good. I'm doing great, or I'm okay. But if I picked up the phone and called you and said, hey, how's everything going? You would say, I'm doing good. Then you would proceed it with probably other things. Hey, now that I have you, what about this, this, and this? Hey, what about this? What about that? The conversation is going to be extended. You don't get that over text message. And that's where it becomes so powerful. Here's the other thing to remember about people is okay, we've been trained to say no all the time. And so when you ask someone, hey, do you want to do the business? You have to understand and prepare that that no is coming. But you have to learn to see the yes through the no. I remember I was doing a coaching with someone, and they said, "Look, this person said no." When I read the message, they said they asked them, "Hey, would you want to do a shout out and would you want to do the business?" Is essentially what they were saying, and they're like, "No, I don't have time." And what I said to the person is, "You only saw the no. I see that if you solve the time issue with them, you got yourself a yes." That's the difference. If you stop at the no, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you learn to read between the lines of what's happening, y'all, who does not want our life? Who does not want to go on a trip, all expense paid on a cruise? Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to make 5, 10, 15, $20,000 a month? They're not saying no to making money. They're saying no that they don't believe in themselves for the opportunity. Or they're saying they don't know if you can get them there. And I think that is a big, big thing that we have to make sure ourselves that we are guarding ourselves and our image to make sure that people believe that we can be the conduit to get them to emerald or diamond. Are you giving off the energy that Megan and Alita give off? Are you giving off the confidence? I remember when Megan was only, they didn't have senior silver at that time, but I remember she was only senior silver in today's rank, and she's making videos on how to go gold. So a lot of you look at where she is today, and you're like, oh, yeah, of course I would follow Megan. Look where she is. Y'all, she cast that vision before she was even gold. People believed she was going to accomplish what she was going to accomplish, so it was easy to follow her. Are you giving people a reason to follow you? Are you putting out the energy of a leader? Because, guys, people are going to have to rent your belief in this business. Because, y'all, people just don't believe in themselves. People don't believe good things can happen to them. I know for the longest time for us, Megan and I would get in fights because things were too good at times. And Megan's like, okay, well, we might as well just fight because it's going to eventually happen. So she would find a reason to fight with me because things were too good. Y'all, these are all things we've had to break through because those struggles are real. But I always say there's three main objections as to why someone's not going to do the business. They're going to tell you, I don't want the business. We know that's BS, but they're still going to say it. So an easy way to overcome that objection is saying to them, great, I'm not asking you to do the business. I'm asking you to help my business. So when you ask someone for a shout out post, that's typically one of the biggest objections you're going to get. Hey, you just ordered. I'm really excited. I have everyone do a shout out post. I don't want to do the business. I'm not good at sales. Great. I'm not asking you to be good at sales. I'm good at sales. I don't need you to be good at sales. I just need you to connect people to me. You know, one of the lines I say all the time is Listen, I know this business, and I know that if you are coachable, you can be successful. And so
Oh,
one of the questions I ask people all the time is, are you coachable? Because first of all, who's going to say no to are they coachable? Right? They don't want to be labeled as someone not coachable. So they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm coachable." Great. Then you can be successful. So what's stopping you? Well, I'm not good at sales. Great. I don't need you to be good at sales. I need you to connect people with me. Do you think you could do that? Yeah, I could do that. Great. What's stopping you? People are going because they're afraid, y'all. They've tried other things. They've gotten their hopes up. And so people would rather live in poverty and in dismay than get their hopes up for something that could be. That's what you're fighting against. You know, for the person that said I don't have ambition for money, you don't have to have ambition for money. Again, I would take it all back to them. Yeah, listen, I get it. But are you willing to help me? Because here's the other psychology of it. People are more willing to help you than to help themselves. And so in the beginning, I frame it as they're helping me. Can you give me a shout out post? Well, I don't really want to do business. Well, it's going to help my business. Oh, well, in that case, yeah, I'll give you a shout out post. Then all of a sudden they're starting to make money. And they're like, wait, how's this money coming in? Well, that's the referral program. You made this much money and you weren't even trying. Imagine if you tried. That's how that goes. The next one is I don't have time. I'm so busy, I don't have time. Really, when someone says they don't have time, you know, I'll be honest, I don't handle this objection the best because I'm a straight shooter and I don't deal with people's BS. But when they say they don't have time, what they're really telling you is they don't value their time going to this thing. That's really what they're saying. So if they were making $20,000 a month, do you think they would have time to do this? Yes. Perfect example that I use is my niece actually. Her brother got run over by a boat in Key West and was in a really bad boating accident and hospitalized. A month before that, she was supposed to go to Nashville for a bridesmaid bachelorette party. Well, she didn't go because she didn't have money. And she said, I don't have time and I don't have money to go. Well, when her brother got hurt, she flew to Key West because her brother, or Miami, because he was in intensive care. Guys, did the time and money change or did the priorities change? The priorities changed. So she still went on a trip. She just didn't go on the trip that she didn't value. So when someone says they don't have money, you have to pitch the value of what they could be. And that's also where third-party validation come in. Hey, I know friends of ours, they were on Medicaid and food stamps before they did Plexus. And now they're multiple six-figure earners. I'm not there yet, but I'm going there. Cast that vision of where they're going to go. And you can just say simply, you don't have time. Great. I'm not asking you to invest time. I'm asking you to connect people to me. And I'll answer their questions. So I'm taking their excuse and I'm offering a solution because people want to naturally say no. And so to close them, you have to fight through that first and second no. Does that make sense? The last one you typically get is, I just want to wait for these products to work for me. How many of you get that? Yeah. So what I tell these people, and again, focus on the spirit of what I'm telling them, not the letter of what I say, because you may not have type 2 diabetes. But I would ask them straight up, do you have type 2? Are you a type 2 diabetic? And most likely they'll say no. And I say, well, I am. So no matter how long you take these products, you're never going to have my story. So I'm not asking you to share your story. I'm asking you to share mine. Because what if there's someone on your platforms who are struggling with balancing their blood sugar? Wouldn't you want them to seek help? And so when you make people think, it allows them to say, oh, that makes sense. Now, it doesn't mean I always get the yes, but I'm then going to follow up because I set the expectation. So if that person says, yeah, I get it, I still want to wait, great. Well, when you are experiencing more energy and better sleep, this is if they're on the triplex, right? Because I tell everyone, I said, you may be taking these products for this, but you're going to experience better sleep and better energy. When you start experiencing that, I'm going to come and I'm going to ask you for a shout out post. And what they normally say is, okay. And so I'll follow up with a week later. How are you loving your products? Well, I have better sleep and better energy. Great. Let's do a shout out post. Okay. I remember we did a call. Hi, buddy. You scared me a little bit. I remember I did a call with someone and they had massive gut issues. And I said to them flat out, I said, listen, I said, you have a lot of gut issues. I said, it's not going to be fixed overnight. What I do know is that you are going to experience better energy and better sleep right away as we wait for the products to really start fixing your gut. So we did a call 2 weeks later. What do you think they told me they noticed? Better sleep and more energy. So what I'm also doing in that area is I'm planting expectations that I know that they're going to experience, but they may not be looking at. Y'all, we were in Florida, and this girl told us one time, my scalp is no longer bleeding. I'm on my period, and I'm not in the ER like I normally am. I have more energy, and there was something else that she said. So basically, four things, and then she said, "But I'm just waiting for these products to work." Because she took it for weight loss. So even though she experienced all these other things, the one thing that she wanted and was expecting, it didn't deliver right away. So one of the things I do is I make sure that they have an expectation that they're looking for that I know they're going to experience. I know with our products, they're going to have better sleep and better energy. I know that. And now I'm getting them to look for that. Does that make sense? Y'all, every conversation I have with someone, I'm very intentional about what I say and what I do. This is a craft. What we have here is, and to be good at this business, you have to constantly be learning your craft. So I want you to take some of the tidbits that I've been saying, and I want you to say, how can I tailor them to me? I may not have type 2 diabetes, but I have this. How can I tailor that story to this to overcome an objection? Because it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it, and it's with the authority and confidence that you communicate. Y'all can hear from me. I speak with a lot of passion and a lot of conviction. So it's easy for someone to grab hold of that and trust what I have to say because they know I believe it. Are you casting that belief in everything you say and do? So I want you to think about that as you're trying to close people. And here's the last thing I'll say, and I know we're right at time, and I'm so sorry. The last thing I would say is don't ever count anyone out. Because you never know when a life situation is going to change them. They may say no today, but what if tomorrow they get news and they need this opportunity? And if you never follow back up with them, how do they know it's still there? You can't look at it as I'm bothering people. I'm giving them every opportunity to say yes. If they choose to say no, that's on them. I truly believe that my wife and I were called to do this. And I believe people are called to do it with us. And so it's my job to go out and find them and give them the opportunity to say yes. But just because I got to know once doesn't mean that person's still not a good fit. Does that make sense? So I want to keep giving them that opportunity because what if today changed their situation? So don't give up. Stay strong. Be convicted when you talk to people and get people on a call. That is the biggest thing I can say. And don't be afraid to screw up. It's actually fun. You laugh about it. When you become an emerald, when you become diamond, you will be able to have those screw up stories like we do. And you get to make people laugh and say, oh, that's not as bad. If Megan screwed up that bad that she's diamond, then I can screw up and be diamond. It's more relatable when you're not perfect. So stop trying to be perfect and just be consistent. So thank you all. Have an amazing night. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy your week and get people. I want to hear stories about y'all getting people on a call. I know it's going to scare you, but I want you to do it. And I believe in you. And I can't wait to hear what y'all do. Have a great one. Bye.